Long before the white sails appeared on the horizon, Africa was a continent full of kingdoms, empires, and thriving civilizations. The Mali Empire, famous for Mansa Musa's legendary wealth, the Songhai Empire, the trading cities of the Swahili coast, the powerful Zulu kingdom in the south, the Benin kingdom in West Africa, and countless others flourished. African societies traded gold, salt, ivory, textiles, and knowledge with Arabs, Asians, and even Europeans along the coast. Life was not without conflict, but Africa was far from the empty, uncivilized land European propaganda later described. In the 15th century, Portuguese explorers like Prince Henry the Navigator's sailors were among the first Europeans to explore Africa's coasts. They came seeking gold and a sea route to India. They built forts such as Elmina Castle in present-day Ghana, originally for trade but soon adapted for the slave trade. This marked the beginning of centuries of disruption. From the 16th to the 19th century, millions of Africans were captured, sold, and shipped across the Atlantic. European merchants, aided by local rulers and middlemen, exchanged guns, cloth, and alcohol for enslaved people. Entire regions were depopulated, weakened, and destabilized. Africa's strength and youth were drained to build the wealth of Europe and the Americas. Yet, despite this, many African communities resisted and fought slave raiders fiercely. By the mid-19th century, slavery was officially abolished in Europe and the Americas, but European interest in Africa did not fade. Instead, they turned their eyes to Africa's raw materials: palm oil for factories, rubber for tires, gold, diamonds, and fertile land for plantations. Missionaries also came, preaching Christianity, while explorers like David Livingstone and Henry Morton Stanley mapped Africa's rivers and lands, reporting back to Europe about its riches. These stories fed European greed. The turning point came in 1884-1885 at the Berlin Conference, hosted by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. Strangely, no African leaders were invited. European powers, Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and Spain, gathered to divide Africa among themselves like slices of a cake. They drew borders on maps without considering African ethnic groups, languages, or cultures. The rule was simple: whichever power occupied a region first could claim it. Soon, European armies marched into Africa. They brought rifles, machine guns, and warships, weapons far deadlier than most African armies had ever seen. Resistance was strong, from the Ashanti Wars in Ghana to Samori Touré's empire in Guinea, to the Zulu resistance under Cetshwayo, to the Maji Maji rebellion in German East Africa. But the industrial weapons and ruthless tactics of Europe eventually crushed most African resistance. Only Ethiopia under Emperor Menelik II stood victorious, defeating Italy at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, becoming a beacon of hope for all of Africa. Liberia, founded by freed American slaves, also remained independent, though under heavy U.S. influence. By 1914, almost all of Africa was under European rule. Britain controlled vast regions from Egypt to South Africa. France ruled West and Central Africa. Belgium claimed the Congo, turning it into King Leopold II's personal property, where millions died from forced labor. Germany, Portugal, Spain, and Italy held smaller but significant colonies. Colonial rulers exploited Africa's land and people. Africans were forced to grow cash crops like cocoa, coffee, and cotton instead of food. Taxes were imposed, payable only in money, forcing men to work in mines or plantations. Railways and roads were built, but not for Africans' benefit, rather to transport raw materials to European ships. Local traditions were suppressed, languages replaced by European ones, and new borders split families, tribes, and kingdoms. Despite oppression, Africans resisted. Leaders like Shaka Zulu, Samori Touré, Ya Asantewa of the Ashanti, and Hendrik Witbooi in Namibia fought bravely. Later, African intellectuals and nationalists began calling for independence. They built schools, newspapers, and movements that would, in the 20th century, spark the struggle for decolonization. Africa was colonized not because it was weak or empty, but because European powers had stronger weapons, a thirst for resources, and little regard for African lives or sovereignty. Colonization left behind borders that ignored cultures, economies shaped for Europe's benefit, and a legacy of struggle. But it also sowed seeds of resistance, unity, and the eventual push for independence that would define the 20th century. If you love this video, like and hit the follow button for more videos,